Hey there, and welcome to the UkeStuff channel, and welcome to this full UkeGuide review of this instrument. This is the KA-SPT-SC. It's a solid spruce top with a Pao Ferro back and sides. And it's a gorgeous instrument that is discontinued in 2022, at least at this point, by It doesn't mean that it can't ever come back, but there are new versions of this still available out there, and of course, used versions as well during the time of the filming of this particular video. What we're going to do in this video is we're going to look at subjective categories with the instrument, then we'll look at specifications, and then finally I'll summarize it and give it a UkeGuide rating out of 5 possible ukuleles. If you want to support the channel, there are 3 things you can do. First of all, you can like the video. Second, you can subscribe to the channel. And third, you can always buy me a cup of coffee to say, hey, thanks for making these videos at buymeacoffee.com/ukestuff. All right, let's begin with the subjective categories. In terms of cost, it's not inexpensive. These are currently listing new for $389, which I think was the going price even somewhat recently when they were still not discontinued. So they're not cheap. Now, are there more expensive ukuleles? Absolutely, but there are a lot of them that are less. You are getting a solid wood ukulele at that price, so that's pretty decent. And it's a beautiful ukulele at that, but nonetheless, it isn't inexpensive. So $389. In terms of value, I think Kala is setting the value. Kala is one of 2 companies that I think more than any other sets the value for what an ukulele is worth. One is Kamaka and its legacy, and I think the other is Kala. I think those 2 companies really set the bar for what prices are. So with that in mind, this is the going price. You're probably going to get better value from used models, and there are some used models out there that will probably have a walnut fretboard from the period of time when this instrument was being made, where they could no longer do rosewood for a while, although we're back to using rosewood again. So you can probably find less expensive versions of this out there, the same model, but again, the value is the value. Now, in terms of build quality, it is beautiful overall. The inlay there is gorgeous. It does have the side position markers. It's gloss all over. The spruce top with a real nice grain spruce. The Pao Ferro. Look at that binding. I think it's a walnut binding. Looks gorgeous. I believe it's a walnut rosette, again with binding with purfling around the rosette in rows. There's no purfling on the front, and it's just a gorgeous build, and you even have that stripe on the tailpiece there, which is really, really, really nice. Now, one of the things we do is we look at the inside of the ukulele, so let's go take a look at what it looks like on the inside of this build as well. All right, let's take a look inside. Here's the label, KA-SPT-SC. All right, and looking inside, you can see the support all along the back there. You can see the horizontal braces in the back, and as we go a little bit closer, see the tail block, notch kerfing, solid spruce top. You can see the bridge support up there with, it looks like a couple screws going through that, for guide holes. There are some vertical braces, sort of a fan brace, more of the notch kerfing you can see. Not much glue mess at all, which is sort of what you would expect from an instrument at sort of this higher price point. There is some glue there at the very, very top of the tail block, but beyond that, it's really super clean in here. Of course, Kala does offer their Kala Elite models, which are yet a further step above this, that are handmade in Petaluma, California, but this is an import that's really, really made. All right, so a little bit of extra glue mess up there with notch kerfing, but not terrible. A little bit of extra glue in the corner there where that scallop is. A bit of extra support. But overall, really nice, clean build. There's one of our horizontal braces. There's the scallop in its entirety. And then just looking, you can see more of the notch kerfing on the bottom. Overall, a really nice, clean build on this Kala KA-SPT-SC ukulele. Now, the only other thing I wanted to point out is that there is a flaw on the back of this ukulele. And this instrument, which is my friend's, I think that may have been why it was sold to her at the particular price that it was sold. It was a really good deal. It's not a crack. It's a flaw in the wood, and it's something to watch for the future. But that is a little flaw in the back of the wood. That would not bother me at all as owner. I would just want to keep my eye on it to make sure that it didn't develop a larger crack in low humidity, but that'd be my only concern. So overall, it really is a beautifully done build by KA and import by KA. Now in terms of appearance, it has quite a few appointments with the scallop. You've got the walnut rosette, the walnut binding. You even have a little bit of a bound fretboard. I didn't even mention that before. So there's a little bit of a bound fretboard on the side, gold tuners, inlay on the top, inlaid KA logo. You've got that, again, more of the binding strip on the tailpiece. It's just really gorgeous with, again, solid spruce, nice grain, and beautiful Pao Ferro. So other than that little flaw in the wood itself, it's really appointed well. It's not the most appointed ukulele, but it has a bunch of them, and it's just a gorgeous ukulele. In terms of availability, these are getting a little bit harder to find because they're discontinued by KA, but new ones are still available, and of course used ones are on the market. Now in terms of playability, this is really the only disappointing aspect of this instrument. And it's not that it's unplayable, but it could be better. It is a tenor scale ukulele, and it only has a 35mm nut and narrow string spacing and a really thick C-shaped neck. The action is decent. Don't know if it was adjusted before me, but the action is good. My friend wanted me to check the action as we replaced it with some Worth brown strings that complement the colors of the instrument and also the sound of the instrument. But really, it could be a wider nut with a little bit wider string spacing, and I think that would make it a better playing experience and a less thick neck. But I end up seeing that with almost all the KA reviews. KA has this very C-shaped profile, often very narrow nuts, very narrow string spacing that I would just like them to see expand and flatten across the entire line of instruments. Now in terms of sound quality, this one sounds really good. Sounds really nice. The Worth Browns work really well with it too. Makes it a nice, warm, balanced sound. You still get some high sparkle. You're getting overtones with it. You've got good volume, good sustain. You'd expect the volume with a spruce top. Yeah, very good core tone. This would be a great ukulele for recording with. So I think it has a really excellent sound. Again, it's on the louder side and it's very balanced. If anything, maybe a touch toward the brightness, especially with the overtones, but realistically, a great sounding ukulele, and I would recommend the Worth Browns if you have one of these on it. Definitely, they work out really, really well. And one of the things I do in these videos is I let you see what I'm hearing by playing a C chord into Tonal Energy Tuner, and you can see what's happening with the harmonic energy. So here we go. Five seconds of sustained sound that it's picking up. All right, so overall, I think that covers it pretty well. It's a balanced sound that is covering the whole spectrum, and the harshness of the spruce is tempered a little bit by the Worth Brown strings. Just really a nice sounding ukulele. Warm, balanced, good tone, sustain, some overtones. Yeah, there's a lot to like here. All right, now that we've talked about the subjective categories, let's get into the specifications of the instrument. It is a tenor ukulele with a measured scale length of 16.875 inches from nut to saddle. It has 18 frets with 14 to the body, and it does have side position markers at 5, 7, 10, and 12. The body style is a double bout with a scalloped cutaway. The soundboard is spruce, and the back and sides are made of that Pao Ferro. The fretboard is rosewood. It is not a radius fretboard, and the bridge is rosewood as well with a tie bar bridge. Perhaps that bridge could be uh, less wing space for me, but I'll take it. It works. It works. It does pretty well with that. The nut and saddle are made out of new bone, and it is not a compensated saddle. It has a gloss finish. The overall length is 25.75 inches from tip to tail, and it weighs 1 pound 7.1 ounces, so it is a little bit on the heavier side of ukuleles. It has gold open geared tuners that work very nicely, and the action at the first fret is only 0.25 millimeters, and the action of the 12th fret is 2.65 millimeters, so it has nice playable action. We get into the negative aspects of the instrument, which is nut width and spacing. The nut width is only 34.83 millimeters on a tenor, so that's pretty narrow, and the space between strings at the first fret is 8.89 millimeters, which is only 28.62 from G to A, so it's pretty narrow string spacing. If you have large hands, even though this is a tenor ukulele, it might be a little bit of a tight squeeze for you, and you just might have to make some adjustments until you get used to playing it. And then finally, the last category I look at is the depth of the neck from the top of the strings at the third fret to the bottom of the neck. It's just an arbitrary spot that I just measure all the instruments, and it's 22.11 millimeters at the third fret, which is pretty thick and C-shaped. So again, that's another area that I'd love to see Kala continue to improve, is changing the profile of almost their entire line of import necks to be a little more flat. And now that I've had a chance to review some other vintage instruments, anything from Macaferris to Martins to even some Kamakas now, narrower necks have been around for a long time. It's not a recent development, so it's just kind of sad that we've got this baseball bat shaped neck when we don't need to, and it doesn't quite fit your hand as well as some of those other profiles because our hands aren't made like a C shape, they're more D shaped as we're playing. All right, with all those aspects considered, let's summarize the instrument. Again, this lovely ukulele is a friend of mine's who asked me to change the strings and just double check the action. We went with Worth Browns, and they really complement this instrument, not only in looks, but in sound. It's a gorgeous ukulele that Kala did a really, really good job with, and the only real negative of the instrument is the playing experience because of a narrow nut, narrow string spacing, and a super thick neck. To my eyes, the versions with the rosewood fretboard look better than the walnut, if you see those out there. But if you don't mind a 35 millimeter nut and narrow string spacing, this is a great sounding, amazingly attractive ukulele that would be great in a collection. So with that in mind, even with the string spacing and so forth, the value is where it is at. I think the value is reflective of the market. I would give this a rating out of 5 ukuleles of 4.5 out of 5. It's really a nice ukulele. Sure, it could use a thinner neck with a little bit wider nut and wider string spacing, but that's not going to change. This is the model you get, and even with that, I think it's a 4.5 out of 5. All right, thanks so much for joining me for this review. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll be back soon with some more Uke stuff for you.